He stood in the rain, holding an eviction notice in his hands. All he had left was fear, hunger, and shame. And then he appeared, a man who offered a helping hand at a price that was difficult to accept. This is a story about two men driven into a corner by poverty, loneliness, and a society that does not allow them to be themselves. But can despair be the beginning of true love? The envelope wasn't in the mailbox. It was taped to Nathan's door. Dead center, white against the peeling blue paint. No stamp, no return address. Just his name in bold, block letters like a warning. Nathan Ward. He stood there for a full minute, frozen. The hallway was quiet, just the dull buzz of the overhead light and the faint smell of detergent from someone's laundry. He didn't have to open it. He already knew. But he did. Slowly. Notice of eviction. Tenant is hereby informed of failure to remit rent for the past 2 months. Termination of lease effective Sunday. Signed, M. Grayson, property owner. His fingers trembled. Sunday. That was 3 days away. Nathan folded the letter and slipped it into his pocket, feeling the paper press into his thigh like a blade. He unlocked the door and stepped inside his apartment. It wasn't much, just 4 walls, a mattress, and a second-hand table. But it was his, and now it was almost gone. He hadn't eaten since yesterday, but his stomach felt like a pit. The coffee pot was empty. So was the fridge. He sat down at the table and stared at the wall, trying to breathe. 2 months ago, he had a job at Brew and Bean, pulling espresso shots for office workers who didn't know his name. When the seasonal slump hit, they cut hours, then cut him. "You'll bounce back," his manager had said. "Smart guy like you." Smart didn't pay rent. Nathan had applied everywhere. Restaurants, retail, temp work. But the city didn't care how hard you were trying. Landlords especially didn't. Grayson had seemed different. Quiet, strict, but not cruel. Nathan had seen him fix pipes at midnight, carry groceries for the older tenants. He wasn't heartless, but maybe even good men had limits. He stared down at the table. Rent. 3 days. No money. No options. He could call his father, but they hadn't spoken in years. Not since the day Nathan came out, and the silence that followed stretched long enough to become permanent. No friends to couch surf with, no safety net, just concrete and rain, and a duffel bag full of regrets. Nathan stood, grabbed his jacket, and left before he could talk himself out of it. The courtyard was slick with drizzle. The porch light outside apartment 1A glowed pale through the fog. Grayson's place. He lived on site. Always had. Nathan hesitated at the door, then knocked. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Grayson stood in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, gray at the temples. He wore an expression that said he'd been expecting this. "Nathan," he said. "I got the letter," Nathan said, forcing the words out. I need a little more time." Grayson didn't move. "You're 2 months behind." "I know, I've been trying. Interviews, applications, everything. I just need until the end of the month." Grayson let out a long breath. Not angry, just tired. "The building's old. Repairs aren't cheap. Taxes go up. I can't carry it alone." "I'm not asking for free," Nathan said quickly. "Just time. Please." Grayson studied him, not with contempt, but something colder. Calculation, maybe, or restraint. "I'll give you until Sunday," he said finally. "No more." Nathan's chest tightened. "That's 3 days." "That's more than the law requires." It was true, it didn't make it easier. "Thank you," Nathan murmured. "Really?" Grayson gave a curt nod. "Good night." The door closed. Nathan climbed the stairs slowly. The hallway was empty. His apartment felt colder than before. The eviction notice lay on the table, its printed words still sharp. He sat on the floor, back against the wall, and pulled his knees up to his chest. 3 days. He could sell his guitar, maybe his laptop, but it wouldn't be enough. He thought of the shelters downtown, the waiting lists, the noise, the fear. He thought of Grayson's eyes, how steady they were, like a man used to watching others sink, not cruel, but unmoved. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He just lay on the mattress, staring at the ceiling, counting the hours he had left. The next morning, Nathan sat by the window. watching people who still had somewhere to go. Coats pulled tight, coffee in hand, lives still in motion. He hadn't moved in hours. There was nothing left to apply to, no more resumes to polish. He had $3 in his wallet, 2 granola bars left, and 2 days. The eviction notice stared at him from the table. He told himself it was stupid, but by noon, Nathan was standing outside apartment 1A again. The porch light was off for once. He knocked. "Come in," Grayson called from inside. Nathan hesitated, then opened the door. The room smelled faintly of cedar and old paper. Grayson sat behind a desk, reading. He looked up, expression unreadable. Nathan stood awkwardly. "I just wanted to talk. About the rent." Grayson didn't answer immediately. "I'm still looking. There's a diner on 8th. I might have an interview tomorrow." "You said that last week," Grayson said. "This time it's real." A pause. "I'm not asking for a free pass," Nathan continued. "Just give me until the end of the month. I'll get it to you. All of it." Grayson leaned back slowly. He looked tired in a way that went beyond sleep. "I've been fair. More than fair." "I know. Fair doesn't keep the lights on." Nathan's throat tightened. "I don't have anywhere else to go." Grayson didn't respond. His silence wasn't cruel. It was worse, measured. Finally, he spoke. "There's another way you could stay." Nathan blinked. "What do you mean?" Grayson didn't look at him. "I could clear your debt. You'd stay. No eviction." Nathan's heartbeat picked up. "What's the catch?" Grayson looked him in the eye. "One night." Silence fell like a stone between them. At first, Nathan didn't understand. Then he did. He stepped back, voice sharp. "You're serious?" Grayson didn't flinch. "I am." Nathan's face burned. "You think I'd just sell myself for rent?" "No," Grayson said quietly. "I think you're out of options, and I shouldn't have said it." "But you did." Grayson rubbed his forehead. "You can leave. Pretend this never happened. I wouldn't blame you." Nathan's hands curled into fists. "You don't get to act noble now." "I'm not," Grayson said. "I'm desperate." The word landed hard. Desperate. Not hungry. Not lonely. Desperate. Nathan didn't say another word. He turned and walked out, heart slamming in his chest. He didn't stop until he reached his apartment, closed the door, locked it, leaned against it like it might hold him up. The walls felt smaller, tighter. His breathing was shallow, his palms damp. He was humiliated, angry, but beneath that, something worse, confused, not because of the offer, but because a part of him understood it. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. The question wouldn't leave. Was it worse to be wanted like that, or not at all? He hated himself for even thinking it. The next day passed in silence. He walked through the city like a ghost. The diner didn't call. The voicemail he left went unanswered. He saw Grayson once, briefly in the courtyard, repairing the fence. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. Nathan stayed out late. When he returned, it was raining again. His jacket soaked through. He didn't care. In his apartment, he paced until the radiator clicked off. Midnight came, then 1. He sat at the table, staring at the envelope again. No options, no favors, no time. He stood, walked downstairs. The hallway was dim, shadows stretching along the floor. A soft light spilled under Grayson's door. Nathan raised his hand, knocked. It sounded softer than he meant it to. For a long moment, nothing. Then the latch turned. Grayson opened the door. He looked exactly the same, but something in his eyes had changed. "Nathan," he said. Nathan swallowed. "Can we talk?" Grayson stepped aside. The room was still. No TV, no music, just the low hum of the storm outside. Nathan sat on the edge of the couch. Grayson stood across the room, hands in his pockets. "I'm not here for that," Nathan said. "I know. But I'm not leaving either." Grayson's jaw tightened. He didn't speak. "I'm not agreeing to anything," Nathan said. I didn't want to be alone tonight." Grayson nodded slowly. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "I know." Grayson sat down, not next to him, but close. The space between them was cautious. They didn't touch. They didn't speak. Eventually, Nathan leaned back, letting his head rest against the wall. Rain pattered gently against the window. The silence was the only thing they shared, and somehow it was enough. For now. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He stayed on Grayson's couch until morning, body still, mind loud. They hadn't touched, barely spoke. But the silence between them wasn't empty. It was loaded. By sunrise, he was back upstairs, watching the city wake up through rain-blurred windows. His clothes still smelled faintly of cedar. He wasn't sure how he felt about that. There was no plan. He wasn't staying because of some calculated decision. He was staying because leaving felt worse. The next few days passed like static. Nathan avoided Grayson's door, avoided eye contact, but they shared the same space, the same courtyard, the same creaking stairs, and silence became their shared language. He still didn't have work. Interviews came and went. One manager looked at his resume and asked, "You still live in that building on Martin?" Nathan hesitated. "Yeah." The man's smile froze. "Right. Heard some things about that place." Nathan didn't ask what. He knew. Gossip traveled fast in buildings that leaked. One afternoon, coming back from another failed interview, he found two neighbors whispering near the mailboxes. "Heard Grayson gave him a break," said one. "A break?" The other laughed. "More like a favor. You know what kind." They didn't see Nathan until he walked past. Their voices stopped like a switch had been flipped. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Shame settled in like dust, quiet, clinging. Not because of what they thought happened, but because a part of him wasn't sure it hadn't. Not exactly. Not cleanly. Grayson was in the courtyard that evening, trimming back ivy. Nathan almost walked past him, but something in him twisted. He stopped. "They're talking," he said flatly. Grayson didn't look up. "They always do. They think I'm sleeping with you for rent." Silence. "I didn't ask for that," Grayson said. "You offered it." Now Grayson looked at him. "And you said no." Nathan's jaw clenched. "But I stayed." Another pause. "Why did you?" Grayson asked. Nathan didn't answer. He wasn't sure he could. That night, the power flickered during a storm. Nathan grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the hall. Downstairs, Grayson was already at the breaker box. "Again?" Nathan said. Grayson gave a quiet nod. They stood in the dark, the only light between them the narrow beam of a flashlight. "You regret it?" Nathan asked. Grayson didn't pretend not to know what he meant. "I regret offering something I couldn't take back," he said. "That's not an answer." Grayson set the flashlight down. "No, I don't regret wanting something. I regret the way I asked for it." Nathan watched him work. The storm thudded against the windows. "I wasn't some charity case," he said. "I never saw you that way." "Then what was I?" Grayson looked at him. "Someone who made me feel less alone?" Nathan didn't speak. His hands were shaking, not from cold. "I'm not sure what we're doing," he said. "Neither am I," Grayson replied, but neither of them moved. Days passed. Routine became a kind of uneasy truce. They spoke more often, but always in fragments. Grayson fixed a leak outside Nathan's window. Nathan helped carry supplies from the hardware store. Nothing dramatic, just presence. One night, Nathan brought home a bag of groceries. When Grayson passed him in the courtyard, Nathan held it up. "Bought extra." Grayson paused. "You didn't have to." "I know." They shared a quiet dinner in Grayson's apartment. They didn't talk about the offer, or the gossip, or the fact that they now sat a little closer than they used to. Afterward, Nathan stood to leave, then hesitated. "Do you ever think about that night?" he asked. Grayson didn't answer right away. Then, "Every day." "Me too." Nathan turned toward the door. His voice was softer now. "I didn't stay because of what you said." "I know. I stayed because no one else ever gave me a reason to." Grayson met his eyes. There was no smile, no relief, just understanding. "I'm sorry," he said, "for how it started." "I'm not," Nathan said. "Not anymore." Later that night, Nathan lay awake in his room. The building creaked. The city buzzed far beyond his walls. He still didn't have a job, still had no savings. But for the first time in weeks, his fear wasn't what kept him up. It was something else, something quieter. something that almost felt like hope. The next time Nathan knocked on Grayson's door, it wasn't out of fear. It wasn't even about the rent. He just didn't want to be alone. Grayson opened the door without surprise, as if he'd been expecting him. Nathan stepped inside. They didn't speak for a while. They didn't need to. They sat across from each other, two people caught in the same gravity. It wasn't romantic, not in the way stories made it seem. There was no music, no grand gesture, just air between them that finally stopped feeling sharp. Nathan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I keep thinking about that first night," he said. "The envelope, the offer, the silence after." Grayson nodded. "So do I." Nathan looked at him directly. "But I'm not carrying it like I used to." Grayson didn't flinch. "Neither am I." There was a pause, long but not empty. "I hated you for a while," Nathan said. Grayson didn't defend himself. "I hated that you saw me as someone who might say yes," Nathan continued. "And I hated myself for not leaving when I should have." "I never expected forgiveness," Grayson said. "I never even expected you to stay." "But I did." "You did." Nathan let out a breath, steadying himself. "I think part of me understood. You weren't trying to hurt me. You just didn't know how else to reach someone." "I didn't," Grayson admitted. "Still don't." Nathan sat back, arms crossed loosely. "You could have just said you were lonely." Grayson's voice was quiet. "Would you have listened? I am now." And that changed something. After that night, things didn't get easier, but they got clearer. Nathan started helping around the building, fixing small things, painting handrails. He didn't ask permission, and Grayson didn't comment. It became a silent agreement. Contribution, not payment. One evening, Nathan found a note slid under his door. "Power's out in 2C again. I'll need help with the panel." It wasn't a request, it was an invitation. They fixed the power together. Nathan held the flashlight while Grayson rewired the breaker. Their hands brushed once, and neither pulled away. "I used to be good at this," Grayson said. "You still are." "You think so?" "I wouldn't be here if I didn't." That night, they shared coffee on the porch in silence. The kind of silence that made space, not tension. It was during one of those nights that Nathan asked the question that had been sitting in his chest for weeks. "Why me?" Grayson looked over. "What do you mean?" "You could have asked anyone for help. Talked to anyone. Why me?" Grayson thought for a moment. "Because you didn't look away." Nathan frowned. "From what?" "From me." Nathan didn't know how to respond to that, so he didn't. He just nodded and looked out at the courtyard, where the wind stirred the ivy along the fence line. They didn't kiss the first time out of desire. They kissed because the air between them felt too fragile to hold anything else. It happened late, after they'd spent hours fixing a broken water heater. Nathan had burned his hand slightly. Grayson had fussed over it more than necessary, and when Nathan laughed and said, "You act like you care," Grayson simply replied, "I do." It was small, quiet, almost hesitant, but it was real. And when they finally touched, it wasn't fire. It wasn't hunger. It was something gentler, like permission, like finally allowing the weight between them to rest. Afterward, they sat together, closer now, not quite intertwined, but no longer apart. The gossip didn't stop. If anything, it grew sharper. Mrs. Delgado from upstairs made comments loud enough to hear. Someone scrawled a slur on the courtyard wall. Nathan saw it first and painted over it before Grayson could. He didn't say a word about it. Grayson did. "This building's not what it used to be," he muttered. Nathan glanced at him. "Neither are we." Grayson let out a small laugh, more breath than sound. "That's true." Nathan tilted his head. "You okay with them knowing?" Grayson shrugged. "They always knew something. Now it just has a name." "You regret that?" "No," he said simply. "Do you?" Nathan didn't answer right away. "No," he said, "but I'm still scared." "So am I." That was the first time they admitted it. Nathan got a part-time job 2 weeks later, stocking shelves at a bookstore on 3rd. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to keep the lights on and his pride intact. The first paycheck, he handed an envelope to Grayson. Grayson looked at it, then at him. Nathan raised an eyebrow. "What?" You don't have to. I know, but I want to. Grayson accepted it, not because he needed the money, but because Nathan needed him to. Later that night, Nathan found a note taped to his door. You still owe me dinner. I'm free Friday. M. Nathan smiled, folded the note, and pinned it to the fridge. He didn't answer in writing, but he showed up on Friday with groceries in hand. Spring came without warning. One morning, the air smelled different. Rain had stopped. The wind felt softer. Nathan opened his window and realized the ivy on the fence was blooming. He hadn't noticed it growing back, just like he hadn't noticed how silence between him and Grayson had shifted from uncomfortable to natural. It wasn't silence built from things they couldn't say anymore. It was space, room to exist without explanation. Nathan came home from work carrying a bag of groceries. He found Grayson fixing a loose railing by the stairs. You know, one day this place might not need fixing, Nathan said. Grayson looked up. Then I'd be out of a purpose. Nathan paused. I don't think that's true. Grayson didn't answer, but his mouth curved slightly. Nathan passed him the bag. I got that bread you like. Grayson took it without a word. He didn't need to say thank you anymore. Not for small things, not between them. That weekend, Nathan started cleaning out his old desk. Most of what he found didn't matter. Expired receipts, broken pens, an old job rejection letter with coffee stains. And then, at the very bottom, the original eviction notice. The ink was still legible. So were the words. Termination of lease, non-payment, 3 days notice. He stared at it longer than he meant to. He carried it downstairs, found Grayson in the basement reorganizing paint cans. Hey, Nathan said, holding up the letter. Grayson blinked. You kept it? I didn't mean to. Grayson reached for it. Nathan didn't let go. I was angry with you for a long time. I know. I blamed you for what you offered, but I never blamed myself for almost saying yes. Grayson stayed quiet. Nathan finally handed him the paper. But I don't think I regret any of it. Even the ugly parts? Grayson asked. Nathan nodded slowly. Even those. Grayson folded the paper once, then again. He placed it into the small wood stove in the corner. Lit a match. They both watched it burn. I guess it's paid in full, Grayson murmured. Nathan looked at him. It never really was about the rent. Grayson didn't argue. The next Monday, Mrs. Delgado passed Nathan in the stairwell and didn't say anything for the first time in weeks. Just kept walking. That silence felt louder than gossip ever had. Nathan told Grayson later that night. They were sitting on the porch, nursing coffee neither of them really liked, but both needed. She didn't even look at me, Nathan said. I think she gave up. Grayson shrugged. Or accepted it. You think it matters? Grayson looked out at the street. It used to. Still does, Nathan admitted, but less. Neither of them said it out loud, but the same thought echoed between them. Maybe what other people thought was finally less important than what they thought of themselves. One night, weeks later, Nathan woke up and couldn't sleep. He sat in the kitchen, hands around a mug of water. The apartment was quiet, familiar, still his. He thought about where he was a few months ago, staring at the same walls, convinced he had nothing left. He remembered feeling like an object passed between bad choices. He didn't feel that way anymore. He walked downstairs, unsure of what he wanted. Knocked once. Grayson opened the door, surprised but not startled. I couldn't sleep, Nathan said. Grayson stepped aside. They didn't talk much. Nathan sat on the edge of the couch like he used to. Grayson brought him a glass of water, nothing more. Eventually, Nathan said, You ever think about leaving? Grayson raised an eyebrow. The building? No, this, us. Grayson didn't look away. Sometimes, when I'm scared I'll ruin it. You haven't. I almost did. Almost doesn't count. Grayson sat beside him, not touching, but close. I don't need it to be perfect, Nathan said. Just honest. It is. Nathan turned his head, just enough to meet his eyes. Then I'll stay. Grayson didn't smile, but his shoulders dropped slightly, like a weight he'd been holding quietly had finally been acknowledged. Okay, he said. That was all they needed. Months passed. The world didn't fall apart. The city stayed indifferent. The tenants stopped whispering. Grayson kept fixing things. Nathan kept paying rent. Every morning, Nathan made 2 coffees. One he left outside Grayson's door. No note, no explanation. Every Friday, Grayson left a folded paper under Nathan's door. A simple line. Dinner tonight? No signatures, no pressure. They never talked about what they were. They just chose to keep showing up. One afternoon in June, Nathan stood in the courtyard. The sun hit the bricks just right. Ivy stretched along the edge of the fence. He saw Grayson on the ladder, adjusting a loose gutter. Nathan watched for a moment, then called up, "You missed a spot." Grayson didn't look down. "So come fix it." Nathan grabbed a wrench and climbed up after him. They worked in silence, shoulder to shoulder. No one asked why they were doing it together. No one had to. And when they climbed down, Nathan didn't go back upstairs. Later that night, they sat in the same spot side by side, watching the light fade from the sky. Nathan asked, "You still think you're the man you were back then?" Grayson was quiet for a while. "No," he said, "but I still remember him." "Me too." They sat there until the light was gone. The city buzzed around them, alive and distant. They didn't need to speak. They'd already said the only thing that mattered. "I'm still here."